close, Ani, but in order to help nurture a classroom community, right? So Jim is wondering what would be the best practice? Is that a good practice to sort of be explicit about your identities, including your racial identity,
Early.
to set a tone early? Ani, is that a thing that you've done? How do you think about that?
I mean, I would say, so when I teach, so I'll say that this sort of idea of introducing, naming yourself, your identities, it has to be, from my view, it's very important that it's done with intentionality rather than like a checklist, right?
Mhm.
So I gave my pronouns, I told my racial identity, and I told them one personal fact. That is not necessarily going to have the effect. When I teach my intro to developmental class lecture for undergraduates, I definitely take time to introduce myself, and I share about who I am, who I'm, you know, my family, my identities, my positionalities. And then I ask the students to turn and talk and interview a partner and do the same, right? So I think this idea of the extent to which you integrate it into your classroom and then you carry that forward. So I make it clear and explicit that relationship building is the core of our learning. And so we're going to get to know who's in the classroom. If it's like a one-off thing, it's not going to have, I think, that intentional effect that it might sound like. So really thinking about how it's incorporated into your philosophy of teaching and your practice.
That's great. Thank you, Ani. Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, very similar on that point about intentionality. I don't, so I don't want to, belabor that point too much. But I don't know any elementary school class that doesn't start with a like about us or about me kind of at the beginning of the year. And I have seen though oftentimes that kids are expected to complete this activity and not the adults in the room. And it is really important as the adult in the room to also do that. If you are asking kids to disclose these things, to give that model, to share, this is advice I give in general is kind of what we say or disclose, that opens a door to what other people might feel more comfortable sharing or disclosing with us too. So sometimes people will ask me like, I'm genuinely curious when I see somebody who looks different and I want to ask them where they're from, but I don't want that to be rude. What can I do? Well, one thing that you can do is when you're meeting that person and introducing yourself, share whatever it is about you and say, I'm so and so and I'm from Ohio and I whatever it is that you wanted to know about them, just about yourself, and just leave it at that. You've opened a door, and if they choose to disclose, they will go through that because as people, we often mirror what others are doing. And they might not choose to, and that's their choice. That's okay. That's where you know that this is maybe not the person that I keep pushing with. But if they kind of open that door, then you've created as a dialogue. It's the same with kids in the classroom. The things that you say about you will help make them feel more comfortable, safe, sharing whatever it is that they want to. And as we're doing these get to know ourselves, get to know each other activities at the beginning of the year, it's also super important that we let kids know, even young kids know up front how that information is going to be used and shared. We have to have, their consent, really. Sometimes educators have kids do beautiful identity maps and want to put them up on the walls in the hallway outside the room. This is who is in our class. But if we're not telling our students we're doing that ahead of time, they might have put something on their map that they felt safe showing to their partner next to them that they don't want up in the hallway for the whole world to see walking past. So there's that piece of disclosure too, and helping kids understand that we want to be more vulnerable and transparent with discussion, and that their privacy, their choices about what they choose to share about themselves also can be respected, and that those two ideas don't have to be mutually exclusive.